Would I do that to you?
Call to order of a regular meeting. Open to the public on Monday, April 13th.
Did you get it?
All council members are in attendance. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Council Member Souza.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide this council in its deliberations this evening. Watch over our employees wherever they may work, and especially our military overseas. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Again, all the members of council are in attendance. Move to ratify and approve expenditures.
Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself from this item. I've stated the reasons in the past on the record.
Which one is it, though?
Expenditures.
I know. Do you know which item it is?
My employer shows up on the expenditures, so HDR shows up as
Page 17.
an AP for approximately $8,000 and change.
Okay. Question, Mayor.
No, it went into your pocket, so.
Councilmember Cavalier.
I have a question on the Archer Western Contractors. It says purchase of capacity, and it says a minus 197. Is that a typo? Is that? That's a credit back to them, or back to us? Back to us. And then the other question I had was with, who is Goodyear Civic Center Development LLC? Design services for $1 million?
That's Langford and Associates.
Oh,
That's
that's
the name
Langford.
that they're operating
Okay.
under.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, Vice Mayor Antoniak has recused himself. Could I have a motion to ratify the accounts payable for February 2009?
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Lord and a second from Councilmember Holland. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Unanimous, 6-0. And the Vice Mayor can return to the dais. We have no communication for this evening. Opportunity now for any citizen to address this council on any subject which is not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to comment on a non-agenda item? Okay, we'll move to consent, and I'll ask the city clerk to read consent items A through I by title only, please.
Item A, approve draft minutes of a work session and a regular meeting held on Monday, March 9th, 2009, the council advance held on Thursday, March 12th, 2009, and a work session, a regular meeting, and a special meeting held on Monday, March 23rd, 2009. Item B, reappoint Gene Shelton to the Goodyear Industrial Development Authority Board for a 6-year term expiring April 30th, 2015. Reappoint Chris Hagan to the Goodyear Industrial Development Authority Board for a 6-year term expiring April 30th, 2015. Appoint Larry Price to the Goodyear Industrial Development Authority Board for a 6-year term expiring April 30th, 2015. Reappoint Gene Shelton to the Public Improvement Corporation Board for a 3-year term expiring April 30th, 2012. Reappoint Chris Hagan to the Public Improvement Corporation Board for a 3-year term expiring April 30, 2012. Appoint Larry Price to the Public Improvement Corporation Board for a 3-year term expiring April 30, 2012. Item C, approve a construction contract with Alliance Services and Control Specialists, Inc. for a not-to-exceed amount of $414,204 for supervisory control and data acquisition at various city facilities and the SCADA Master Control Room located at the Water Resources Administration Building, and authorize the city manager to execute this contract. Item D, accept the dedication of easements for 13 drainage basins adjacent to Bullard Avenue south of Yuma Road. Item E, approve the request for a comprehensive sign package for Saraville Marketplace, a planned 23.7-acre commercial center generally located at the northwest corner of Saraville Avenue and Yuma Road, subject to the stipulations contained within the staff report. Item F, approve the request for a use permit to allow a convenience use Burger King restaurant with drive-through on a 1.153-acre parcel generally located on the north side of Yuma Road, 400 feet west of Saraville Avenue in the Saraville Marketplace Commercial Center, subject to the stipulations contained within the staff report. Item G, adopt Resolution 09-1301, designating Othil Newbill as the city's agent for purposes of signing all necessary documents and conducting business to engage the city to apply and receive emergency assistance from the state of Arizona. Item H, adopt Ordinance 09-1173, providing for conditional rezoning of 6.9 acres of property from the light industrial zoning district to the final planned area development zoning district for the Goodyear Commerce Center located at 14180 West Van Buren Street, adopting supplementary zoning map number 08-014 to provide for the change in zoning, providing separability, and providing for an effective date. Item I, adopt Resolution 09-1302, declaring as a public record that certain document entitled Zoning Ordinance Text Amendment dated April 13, 2009, amending Article 6, Off-Street Parking and Loading Regulations of the City of Goodyear Zoning Ordinance of May 24, 1999, as amended, filed with the city clerk and providing for an effective date. Adopt Ordinance 09-1174, providing for the amendment of Article 6, Off-Street Parking and Loading Regulations of the City of Goodyear Zoning Ordinance of May 24, 1999, as amended, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Jeff Guyette with Fry's Food and Drug Store, 500 South 99th Avenue in Tolleson, and I wish to remove item E from the consent agenda.
Item E,
094142, the comprehensive sign package for Saraville Marketplace.
okay. We'll remove that, and then you'll address the subject?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we'll remove E. Any other item to be removed? Would anyone on council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. I'd also like to have item F removed.
Is that, do you want a question answered quickly, or would you like to have it removed?
No, I'd like it removed.
Okay, so E and F are to be removed. Okay. Any further? And just as a matter of record, for the minutes, I think it's wise if we state that the council is aware that Chris Hagan and Larry Price are employed by other municipalities, Hagan with Tolleson and Price with El Mirage. Okay, we're going to remove E and F, so could I then have a motion, please, to approve 7A through D and G through I. Is that correct? Yes. Can I have a motion to approve that?
Yep. So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Vice Mayor Antoniak. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. And which is the staff lead on E? Okay. All right. Let's see. We'll let the staff start, and then we'll ask you to come to the microphone. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The applicant is requesting approval of a comprehensive sign package for Saraville Marketplace, a planned 23.7-acre commercial center generally located at the northwest corner of Saraville Avenue and Yuma Road, This comprehensive sign package addresses both monument signs and wall signs, and there are 4 monument signs proposed within the center. Two along Yuma Road and 2 along Cerebral Avenue. And these are elevations of the 4 monument signs. The monument signs are consistent with the architectural design guidelines for Cerebral Marketplace in terms of their architecture, colors, and materials. The major item that was discussed at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on March 19th was a proposed price change cabinet sign on the fueling station canopy, and that's this sign right here. It is 45 square feet. The zoning ordinance limits the amount of signage on fueling station canopies to an amount of 6 square feet for 2 elevations. There is a total of 100 square feet of signage proposed on this fueling station canopy, and this sign, again, is 45 square feet. The commission thought that this sign was unnecessary since price change cabinets are already being provided on 2 monument signs for the center. The commission also thought that this would set a bad precedent for future proposals, and that future gas stations would also try to, or also would also request this type of signage on their fueling station canopy. This canopy is located right here on the site plan, and that fueling station price change cabinet, which is attached to the fascia of the canopy, is located right here on the west side. It does not directly face any of the streets. By a vote of 4 to 3, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended to approve this comprehensive sign package, but with the stipulation that this price change cabinet sign that's attached to the canopy be removed. This concludes my presentation. Jeff Guyette from Fry's is also here and would like to discuss his request for that sign.
I'm not sure I understood that. Be removed or be reduced?
Be removed entirely.
Okay.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the council. Jeff Guyette with Fry's. The issue that we have here with the sign being removed is it's a price cabinet sign that's an internal to our shopping center that we use to solicit our customers that are shopping our Fry's store, because we use a cross-marketing program through our value card to attract the customers to our fuel center to be able to operate and maintain that business. We found through our research that it's over 40% of our customers that shop our fuel center are our Fry's customers that use our value card, and therefore it would be a detriment to our fuel center to not have that price cabinet sign. As he stated, it's an internal sign. It's not an external sign that faces any street or any residential property, and it's specifically for Fry's to capture our internal customers that shop at our store.
Any questions of the applicant?
Now, you're talking about the prices that appear over
That strip that's over
the
the top.
strip on top?
Yes, on the canopy, sir. That's why we place that internally facing the store, so when the customers are leaving the Fry's shopping center, they can see the pricing at the fuel center, because when they leave and check out, typically a cashier would let them know that they have a reward and they can go redeem that at the fuel center. And when they leave, they can see the fuel pricing.
Yeah, but, when people are coming into your establishment, into Fry's, okay?
Yes, sir.
Are you going to have a sign announcing the prices of the gasoline product outside of the unit itself?
There are price signs on the fronting roads on Saraville and Yuma. There are other entrances to the shopping center to where someone might not see the fuel pricing. And myself, with having 3 kids, sometimes I can be shopping for hours at a time and may not remember the price of that fuel. And it's just part of a marketing that we use that's very important to our business and the establishment. The fuel center that you see here is a 9 MPD fuel center that has never been done by the Kroger company, and it's very important to us to be able to maintain the volume that we have to be able to move forward with the fuel center that you show on the site plan here.
But yet, you know, we have 5 or 6 gasoline stations in Goodyear at the present time. And I know that Albertsons and Safeway have their price signs on the edge of their properties. And I don't have any difficulty, you know, determining what price the gasoline is of that particular day by approaching these signs.
Okay.
And I don't see where, you know, that this is going to help you that much.
Mayor? Although, if you look at this, the design of this compared to, say, Safeway,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. And I, you know, I have a tendency to feel like you do in a way, but if you look at the traffic patterns here and the gas stations over here, you actually have more people viewing that area of where that sign is. And it is about marketing, and it is about money, and it is about a tax base, and it is about Goodyear and what we get out of it. And it is going, we are through bad times. Things change now.
Yes, ma'am.
And I feel like we need to give our businesses as much as we can give them, and sometimes we may have to deviate, depending on if it's offensive to the housing community. And I don't see that where that affects any of our residents in any way. It's just another reminder that, you know, I went in the store, I bought some groceries, and you know what? Doggone it, I didn't look at that sign when I drove in there, and I want to know how much that gas is. It's just another little marketing trick that does help the income.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Holland?
I just wondered if maybe a representative from the Planning and Zoning Group might want to speak to this.
Just did.
Okay.
I'll wait till the public gets called.
Oh, okay. Since we heard their vote, that's why I was...
Councilmember Osborne?
You know, I don't really have a question per se. Mine's more of a comment, so if you'd like to
Yes.
wait.
No, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, well, first of all, this entire sign package has multiple deviations. And I believe that because this entire center is flanked by 2 residential communities, I have a problem with the extensive amount of signs that are in this area. I personally do not like sign B. I have no problem with A, C, or D, but I think B is overkill. You have the gas prices there on sign B. You have another gas price on, I believe it's sign C, and now you want to go beyond more deviations by putting the signs on the canopy, even though it is internally, I understand that. But I just think that for an area that does have 2 residential neighborhoods flanking this development, that it's overkill. And I'm going to stick with what the Planning and Zoning Commission already agreed upon, that it was overkill. And so that's my opinion there. No, they did not. They did not pass it. What they passed was removing the...
Oh, I know they didn't pass this particular one, but they passed the other ones.
They passed the other ones, but I'm saying that I do believe that it's overkill.
Okay.
Didn't this pass the planning and zoning?
4-3. It did.
Yeah, it did. The
yeah.
signs did. This particular sign did not,
That's right. It did
but
not.
the other ones did.
Yeah. Any further question on this end of the table? Okay, Councilmember Souza?
You say that these is designed to provide incentives for your customers.
That is correct.
All right, but by the same token, Safeway and Albertsons give discounts on their gasoline, 3, 10, whatever, cents per gallon. That is an incentive for them, and frankly, it's working out very well for them, for the 2 of them. And I don't see where you can.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't work for them, and I don't know how it's working out for
Yeah,
them.
but we do.
But as you may notice, they also don't build as big of a facility as we have here, really depending on the signage which we're requesting to be able to make what we're requesting happen.
Okay, I'll get back to the council. Go ahead if you'd like.
A question for staff. Have we allowed this type of sign on any canopy outside of talking about competitors, grocery stores, but Mobile on the Run, Shell?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this type of price change cabinet sign attached to a fascia of a fueling station canopy has never been approved in the city.
Do we know if anybody's ever asked for it, or is this something new in marketing?
I believe this is something new. I've never
Well,
seen any
that's
before.
I don't know that it's new. I've seen it in truck stops and that sort of thing. I'm not comparing Fry's Marketplace to a truck stop when I say that, but maybe I am.
I think Councilmember
Good.
Holland, Lord is just saying it's new to us.
It's new to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I mean, I'm surprised that there's so much discussion over this very small little sign that shows one area, and we're not discussing that one is
Does
4
it
feet
face-
oil, the other one is 6 feet over of the signs. I mean, there were more probably items that were
Yeah.
over the top than this one little sign that people are going to see as they come out the store, which nobody else sees. So I'm just throwing that out to you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, applicant, is that, do you have anything else right now?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Now it's open to the public. Would anyone in the public like to comment? Mr. Gelser.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Gary Gelser, citizen of Goodyear. I also am the chairman of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has wrestled with Councilwoman Osborne's concern over deviations on sign packages. And to be quite honest with you, on most of the shopping centers, the pylon signs tend to be larger than our ordinance has requested. We have had a study session once, and I'm hoping that in the future we can amend our sign ordinance so that more of our packages come in underneath or at the maximum of where the ordinance goes. The real issue is the canopy sign, which is 65 square feet. And we on the commission, or the majority of the commission, felt that this was going to, one, set a bad precedent for the city of Goodyear. Two, it was not a necessary item since there were two signs out on the major arterials illuminating the price in a very large manner. And three, there are other alternatives that this company can do. If you take Costco, for example, they have a big sandwich board out in front of their store that lists exactly what the price is when you walk in and when you walk out. And there's no reason that this company couldn't bring a sandwich board and put it out there just like everybody else does. Again, we think that the Planning Commission felt that this was going to be a bad precedent, and it is overkill. And that was one of the reasons why there was a lot of discontent and discord when the vote came up. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Okay, further comment from the public?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
members of the council, Jeff Guyette with Fry's. To the point, one, it's 45 square feet, not 65 square feet, as just stated. Two, he mentioned that he feels that it would be overkill. Well, it's our business, and we're the ones that do our marketing and research, and we're the ones that will be spending the money to place the sign internally to attract our customers. So we've done the research to find that this does assist our business. And as far as setting precedents, if I feel as someone coming in with the new business, if someone wants an internal sign to assist them to help bring revenue to the city, it shouldn't be a slap in the face to make a request to assist the business to be successful. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, open council again. Comments?
Curious where the discussion's going.
Comments over here?
Well, I will have to state that I believe that the assistance it's giving to you is going by the many deviations that you're already receiving on these signs. And you know what? I could make a case over that sign B being right in front of residential homes across the street. But I'm not going to go that far, but I will stick with what's already been stated by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So are you saying you're not voting for it because we gave them,
No.
we let them go over on those other two signs? Or are you stating you're not because you absolutely are opposed to the sign?
No, I am stating that I will stick with what has been presented to us this evening for acceptance.
Which is the
Which is
P&Z's recommendation to not
of
include
not
this
having the-
particular sign.
Yes.
And the staff's recommendation.
Staff concurred with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was my next question. I'm inclined to lean towards staff and P&Z on this one, only because we haven't allowed this before in the city. That said, I'd be curious to know specifically data at a future date from the business. What's the difference between this station and your other stations that may exist in
But
other
you-
parts? Because I will tell you, as a Fry's customer, my wife shops there every week, and I see at the bottom of the receipt the fuel thing, and I will tell you that wouldn't be incentive enough for this shopper to drive an extra mile or two if there was one in the neighborhood. But I don't necessarily need a sign to tell me to do that. And I respect your marketing and work in the very same field. So, but I do think there are many deviations that have been pointed out on this corner, not only from the PAD standpoint, quite frankly, while the landowner was in the process, but also at the sign package level. So I'm inclined to say, you've got enough on the street from both sides, and there's probably enough in-store marketing to be able to achieve what you need to achieve. I know you respectfully disagree with me, sir, but that's where I'm going to support P&Z's recommendation and staff's.
Yes, sir.
I think it's time I said something on this because this is an interior sign. It's not on a main street. It's in an interior neighborhood. They need as much help as they can get. They've done the marketing on this. They know better than we do. For some reason, I don't know why it is, the council seems to know more than most other people, but it's not true. You people put a lot of money into your marketing, so I'm going to take your word for it, and I believe that it's a good thing, and I'm voting for it. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, I would like to make a comment on something that Councilman Member Lord said. And right now, all of our business needs as much publicity as they can possibly get, good marketing. And I think that, again, the store has done its due diligence and has reported back to us, and I'm inclined to support it.
Okay, I'll be, I think we're going to be around 4-3 on this one. I'm going to support the prices on the cabinet myself, because I think that would probably be more attractive than RIC at Costco.
Yeah.
Because you are going to advertise the price somewhere, and this is probably as an attractive a way as I can think of.
I'm with you. Was going to be my last comment. I'd rather have it up there than on one of those wooden tents, as you
Yes.
call it, coming out in the
Yes.
store.
I hate those things.
We try to prevent those signs. We've had to give in to some of them because the businesses really need help right now. So I'm with you, Mayor. Thank you.
Shall I ask for a motion as it is written, you think? It's going to be close, so. And if it fails, then we'll have a new motion. Is that correct?
Yeah, so tell me what I'm voting for, though.
Pardon me?
Or you could just do a motion deleting stipulation number 3.
But leave it. I'd like to make that motion.
Let me,
What?
You need to delete it.
let me
You want
make
to
sure we
delete
understand it,
installation period.
including the mayor. So,
Yeah.
what is this?
I think you'd make a motion to approve the comprehensive sign package, including stipulation number 1, number 2. You delete number 3, which would delete the signage on the.
Deleting number 3 would be the
Delete.
business owner's request.
Yeah, deleting the prohibition
Right.
to have,
Deleting the prohibition.
okay.
What is the vote if we go with the?
What?
The way the staff report stands right now is no sign. They don't get the sign. So if you delete stipulation number 3, as stated by the city attorney, you in essence are voting in favor of the business owner's request. that make sense? Stipulation number 3 would remove that sign. So if we leave it intact, if the motion on the table, tell me if I'm explaining this wrong, Mayor.
It doesn't
That is
remove the
correct.
sign.
Yes, sir, it does. It's not.
No, it adds the sign.
Elimination of 3 deletes the prohibition against them having that sign
Right.
on the
Your
cabinet.
position would not include stipulation number 3, Frank.
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying.
So if you want the sign up, you vote what?
You vote for
Yes,
1,
yea,
2,
or
and
nay?
not
to
3.
approve
No.
comprehensive sign package with the deletion and exception of stipulation 3.
Okay.
Hey, I'll give you canopy sign and take away sign B.
Keep Wayne over here.
I think we might be in the minority here, Joanne.
You want that?
And would anybody object
Mayor.
if that motion is
No,
made?
that's good.
Okay, would you make the motion then, Frank?
Okay, I move that City Council approve request for the comprehensive sign package for Saraville Marketplace with stipulations 1, 2, and deletion of stipulation number 3.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second?
I got a motion from Councilmember Cavalier and a second from Councilmember Lord. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, why don't we just go roll call vote?
Councilmember Sousa?
No.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye?
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Nay.
Vice Mayor Antoniak?
Nay.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes.
Motion passes 4-3. Okay, thank you. Good subject. Okay, we'll move to F. Councilmember Osborne?
Yes, sir. This item, the planning and zoning level, was voted 6-1, and originally the staff brought it to the commission with hours, I believe, of operation ending at midnight, and it was changed to, on the weekends, ending at 2 in the morning. Fry's and their gas station both close at midnight. I believe that, again, being flanked by 2 residential neighborhoods, I think they should be able to close at midnight along with rest of the development. And that's why I wanted to bring it to a different vote.
Could you repeat the process again? The timing?
In the planning and zoning level, when the case was brought to planning and zoning, as I understand it, staff presented it with hours of operation ending at midnight. And David, correct me if I'm wrong. During the commission changed it so that the weekends operation would end at 2. However, rest of the area ends at midnight. And there again, because it's by residential neighborhoods, I feel that it should continue to end at midnight.
Rather than 2.
Rather than 2 in the morning, yes.
Okay, David, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. I'll just give a brief presentation for this use permit request. The subject property is generally located on the north side of Yuma Road, approximately 400 feet west of Saraville Avenue. And this is in the Saraville Marketplace Commercial Center. And the applicant is requesting approval of a use permit to allow for the development of a Burger King within that center. This is the conceptual site plan for the Burger King. The front of the building faces Yuma Road, which is an orientation which should enhance the streetscape. The menu board and squawk box is located towards the rear of the restaurant, so vehicles will order from the rear of the restaurant and then proceed to the side of the restaurant to pay for and pick up their order. I'd like to note that there is a substantial landscape setback buffer along Yuma Road. Normally, a 30-foot wide landscape buffer would be provided, but in this instance, a 42 to 75-foot wide buffer will be provided, which will increase the distance of the restaurant from the residential neighborhood to the south. In staff's report to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we had recommended the hours of operation be from 5 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days a week. The applicant, however, wish to have hours of operation from 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. Friday through Saturday. The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6-1, agreed with the applicant's request to have those hours of operation of 5 a.m. to midnight Sunday through Thursday, and then 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. Friday night and Saturday. This concludes my presentation. Staff does agree with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation that hours of operation be extended as proposed by the applicants for the reasons stated before, the extra separation that is being provided. And also, I believe Jeff Guyette, is he still here? I think he might even make a case for expanding the hours of operation for the fueling station, which right now is 5 a.m. to 12 a.m., or 5 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days a week.
Now, I probably should know this, but I don't. The applicant, is it Burger King or is it Fry's?
The applicant is Burger King.
Okay.
Can I ask him a question?
Sure.
What are the other drive-ins doing around the city? Most of them, how late do they stay open? We
Mr.
must have an
Mayor,
average, we must know.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have some drive-through restaurants which are open 24 hours. This one would be restricted compared to the other ones in terms of hours of operation if they were to have to close at midnight.
What are our restaurant hours on McDowell, at where the Wings place is? I'm talking about, anybody know?
Buffalo Wings?
Right down your area.
Buffalo.
2 a.m., I assume.
Okay.
Last
That's
call.
right across from a residential, and they have a patio. And they're open until 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, I just want to know that.
Right? Isn't last call 2 a.m. in our state?
Yeah, okay, just want to know that.
Okay, we'll open it up to council in a minute. Is the applicant present, and would the applicant like to speak?
Do note that Burger King doesn't sell beer, though, so
Oh, it's
really
not-
2
it's a
a.m.
quiet
is
zone.
not,
Root beer, huh?
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah, right. You start a drive-through beer place, and we have a whole nother set of issues on our hands.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name's Brad Flahiff with Burger King, 7816 North 19th Avenue in Phoenix. I guess what I'd just try to clarify is our request is that we don't have a restriction there until midnight. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we would be open until 2 a.m. either. Burger King Corporation right now has mandated hours for their franchisees, understanding you're not subject to those mandates, we are, that we're open until 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. So we're requesting it. The point would be if the community or the neighborhood, which I understand is a concern, won't use the facilities between 12 a.m. and between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m., we won't be open because there's no one to serve. Because we're not right off the freeway, we're not pulling traffic in to come to the Burger King as much as I wish we would. What we get is the people in the community, especially where that's located. So we wouldn't be pulling people from somewhere, we would be pulling from the community. So if those aren't hours that the community and the neighborhoods are wanting our services, then they're not going to be there, and it doesn't make sense for us to be open. So the concern would be that we open, we're there until midnight, and we're closing on Fridays and Saturdays at midnight with 7 cars in the drive-thru and lights going off and not able to serve the customers. So obviously, if that's not happening, then we'd be closing anyways. But it doesn't allow us the freedom to be open until 2 a.m. if those restrictions are there.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the public?
Can I ask a question of you?
Yeah, sure. Comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. Open to the council. Vice Mayor?
Sir, is your location, do you operate the location on Litchfield Road?
On Litchfield and Van Buren.
Okay, not
Yes.
the one north?
Sorry, so at Litchfield Indian School and at Litchfield and Van Buren, we
And you're-
operate both of
And
those.
you're open until 2 a.m. in both of those cases?
That's correct.
So you've had a number of customers that come to your establishment those hours, because you're continuing to do
It's a
that.
different traffic.
Absolutely, and I'd say without having those two restaurants' numbers in front of me, I'd say some restaurants yes and some no. So there's locations where we would not be open that late
The
as well. but-
traffic in those locations is far higher than I would assume
Right.
this location will have.
Right. Yeah, and I hope there will be great traffic, but if we looked at them now, that's absolutely true, so.
Okay. Further questions?
I have one
comments?
question. You stated that you are mandated by your franchise to be open until 2. So if some reason the council said no, that you would have to close at midnight, would that mean then that you could not locate there?
No, it wouldn't mean that. We'd simply have to go to Burger King Corporation, let them know that there was a restriction from the city, and I'm sure they'd still love to have us open there and get our royalties, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I
Go ahead.
But for the two locations that you have in Goodyear right now, they're open until 2, right?
On Friday and Saturday, that's correct, sir.
Friday and Saturday, and that's what you're requesting, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's what it says.
Vice Mayor?
Question for Rourke. Equity here? You know, gentleman jumps up and talks about 2 a.m. for the fuel station. What's the discretion on the part of council setting hours here for Burger King versus fuel?
Well, what you have is a use permit, so one of the considerations that you can take into account with a use permit is the surrounding impacts on the neighborhood. So that's what you look at as far as the issuance of a use permit. You walk through your criteria.
And is the use permit revocable at any time by us if we were to get, say, neighborhood complaints between 12 and 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays because of the squawk box or other reasons?
Many times you will put in a time limit on a use permit. To be honest with you, I don't know if that's in here or not. But generally, as long as they're in compliance with their use permit, they generally continue.
Mayor?
Yes.
I think I remember when you guys were putting in one of your facilities up on the Indian School, Litchfield Road, and we did hear from some of the citizens there before it went in that they were very concerned because we had approved it, and they were concerned about the noise and staying open, and I was trying to remember some of the other things. But once it started going up, and I think our position was, let's see what happens. Let us know if there's any problems, but we just couldn't see anything at the time. And we have not heard anything back from that facility at all. So I'm more inclined to support your till 2 o'clock because it just makes sense to me.
Thank you. For what it's worth, I just add again that point. We are certainly in business to make money, but we have to have the community happy with us. If they're not, they can speak with their dollars. And so I'm always more concerned with not being able to service their needs than the opposite. So and to your point, we've not had complaints. Some of the other concerns were lighting from the signs being on at night. And the neighborhood is actually closer at Litchfield Indian School. The houses are a little bit closer than they are here. And it's not an issue. Always there's concerns, and I understand that. The lights are different these days. The squawk box is different these days and how the sound is. So it's usually not a concern. But if it was, we wouldn't do it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Customers, you've got the drive-through open till 2, but is the dining room closed at 10 p.m. or when does the...
Correct. Typically 10 or 11. Again,
Okay,
depending on the location, but typically 10 or 11.
Okay, so you're not really a gathering place between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
No,
on Friday
definitely
night or
not.
Saturday night.
Correct.
So as far as the noise level, they're in their cars.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they're not walking to parking lots.
I'm okay.
I think there's one difference here of your now 3 Burger Kings. The other 2 are in locations where the anchors are 24 hours, aren't they? And this is different.
Well, that was a stipulation
make that
specific to
happen,
the PAD. That's mine.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't remember what the hours are in those
I think
locations.
Walmart grocery store is 24, and then Fry's is 24.
And it very well may be for that reason alone that if the Fry's hours are restricted to the Fuel Island or anyone else in there, whether they're restricted or they choose their hours, that may very well be a reason that there is not a draw. If we could
Not going to
predict
pay
it-
your employees for no business.
Absolutely. And, we just, unfortunately, we have not, it's not a science in predicting how busy we'll be in those hours. But sometimes because we're the only thing open, we would get all the business, whatever business there is, we'd be the place to come. And obviously that's great. But if everything is closed and there's not a draw, then, yeah, we wouldn't have employees there for no reason and we wouldn't have the lights on. And
Anybody on council objective? I asked the police to
No.
add their comment here. And I'm just asking you, Mark, do you see any issue that concerns you regarding going from 12 to 2 in a drive-through here?
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, I don't believe that we've had many issues with that at all. Usually it's people late night trying to get something to eat.
Right.
Really had very few calls that I'm aware of related to those
The
things.
Vice Mayor's point, it's not a gathering place, it's important.
Not a drive-through.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
important. Okay.
But we do have the discretion at any time in the future to change it back to midnight? Or no?
I think that's going to be difficult. You don't have a time limit on this, so I think.
But I can use discretion between this and, say, a fuel station use. Okay.
Because they're different uses.
Okay. And I largely believe they are very different. I'm picking on you tonight. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, further comments? Okay, then I would ask for a motion to proceed with the motion, the proposed motion as it is written, and that would be to approve a use permit to allow a convenience use Burger King with drive-through. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so can I have a motion along, any further comment, Councilmember Osborne?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Lord.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Cavalier, and again, it's to approve the use permit as it is described in the package. All those, I don't need a roll call on this. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, 7-0. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now move to the business part of our agenda, and we will start with a public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution to approve a minor amendment to the City Center specific area plan, and I'll open the public hearing and staff presentation by Brett.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just interject real quick, I just clarifying question here. Right, this is staff work, not HDR work.
Correct. This is, the applicant is the City of Goodyear.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This is a minor amendment to the City Center specific area plan to provide clarification on the intent of some sections in the specific area plan. And as I mentioned, the applicant is the City of Goodyear. And I want to first provide some framework, and then I'll give a little bit of background. We've got an aerial photo up here which shows the adjacent developments surrounding the subject property. So we are talking about the entire specific area plan, all 4 quadrants. And to the north of the subject property, you have the city's 100-acre University Park site. And there are also there are also apartments and commercial properties in the Centerra development in this area here. To the south, you have the Ballpark Village, the Wood Corporate Campus, and the Estrella Vista residential subdivision. And to the east, again, the Centerra PAD, you got the apartments. And to the east, you also have Sun MP's City Center Air Park. And to the west, you can see Desert Edge High School there. Many of you may recall in January of 2004, the city initiated the planning process for the City Center specific area plan. And the city hired a consultant, and the city also put together a 28-member citizen-based technical advisory committee to assist in guiding this effort and to give input into the proposed plan. The city went through an extensive public participation program, and the team was tasked with transforming this vision that was gathered into a specific area plan. And the plan was intended to provide the city with the tools and the design guidelines that we needed to implement our city center development. And you all, I'm sure you all recognize this. This was the land use exhibit that was included with the specific area plan. And continuing on, the City Center specific area plan includes 4 different districts, and they each have prominent land use themes. And move on to one more. Okay, now moving up to January of 2009. The city's development partner, Langford & Associates, submitted a site plan for the 40-acre Northwest District. Once this draft site plan was completed, staff began to review this site plan in relation to the city center specific area plan, and staff noted that there were some areas in the specific area plan that needed clarification on the intents of the requirements. Staff noted that there was need of clarification in order to process development applications. And what I'd like to do, there are 9 clarifications that are outlined in your staff report. I would like to cover 3 of those, 3 of the more prominent ones that merit additional detail. So I'd like to go through those with you. Okay, so I'm referring to page 5 of your staff report if you'd like to follow along in your staff report. So for proposed clarification 1, and you can see the red text in your documents show the proposed language the staff is proposing. As I mentioned, when staff was reviewing the Northwest District, staff identified some inconsistencies with the specific area plan when we computed the predominant land uses and the complementary land uses. And after discussing this component of the plan with the consultants who helped prepare the specific plan and the text, staff was able to confirm the intent of this section of the specific area plan. So the first thing I want to talk about is the predominant and complementary land uses being at the ground floor only, the heading there of that table. The drafters of the specific area plan explained that the predominant land use requirement with each of the districts was designed to be implemented solely at the ground floor, and that the land uses above the first floor could use any use listed in the table of land use classifications. The specific area plan contained a few pages that had uses that were permitted in each of the 4 districts. As such, staff proposes that the plan be revised to clarify that this provision applies to the predominant and complementary ground floor land uses. Staff noted that if the percentage of complementary land use is restricted above the first floor within the city center core, then the height of the buildings and the intensity of the city center core would be severely restricted, which is contrary to the intent of the plan. We know that the plan intended for the highest buildings, the most dense housing developments, the most intense office, the most intense of all of the uses to be in the city center core. And the second note that I wanted to refer here on this table is regarding street frontage. The writers of this specific area plan also explained that the minimum requirement associated with the predominant and complementary land use in the table was intended to have an effect upon all areas along any street frontage. And staff is proposing that the table be revised to be clear accordingly. Additionally, as parking was not listed in the table of land use classifications in the specific area plan, staff has added additional note 1 to clarify that parking should not be considered a land use when we're computing the predominant versus complementary land use. Additionally, language has been added to clarify that above the ground floor, any use, including parking, is permitted in accordance with the table of land use classifications that's included in the specific area plan. So, although allowing parking was clearly anticipated in the specific area plan, the document doesn't clearly note that. So we need to provide that clarification. And finally, in regards to footnote number 3, with the assistance of Sun MP, staff recognized some unintended consequences and impracticalities of wording that may force residential ground uses, that may force uses on the ground floor within the Southwest District. I'm going to start over, and I'm going to say it slower. Okay? We recognize some inconsistencies, impracticalities of wording that would force residential uses on the ground floor in the southwest. And as a result, we've added footnote number 3, and conflicting language was removed as well. The proposed revision that you see here in footnote 3, it assures that residential uses will be provided in the Southwest District without requiring that residential on the ground floor. So it would encourage the development of ground floor retail and encourage mixed-use development, which was one of the goals of the specific area plan. And I wanted to move now to talk about parking structures for just a moment. This exhibit that you see on Elmo is a page from the specific area plan that shows some sample parking garages. And if you want to refer to your staff report, we're looking at clarification number 7 right now, which is page 9 of your staff report, if you want to see that. Page 9. So the specific area plan requires that parking lots and structures are to be hidden from the pedestrian view. And the proposed change that we're proposing is to clarify that parking structures may be located adjacent to Yuma Road and Estrella Parkway if the ground floor of that building is wrapped with retail. So there would be storefront adjacent to the street. It also provides that parking structures that are proposed adjacent to Yuma and Estrella Parkway, they would be required to contain an architectural facade above the first floor of retail space. So we're trying to ensure that the parking structure portion of the building will not be visible from the public perspective. A lot of these buildings could be mixed-use buildings. And these 2 examples that you see on Elmo, they are mixed-use buildings that contain retail at the ground floor. The one at the top also contains some office space, but it does have parking in that building. Additionally, the proposed language in your staff report clearly states that permanent parking lots are not permitted to be located adjacent to Yuma Road and Estrella Parkway, as parking lots, permanent parking areas are to be hidden from the public perspective. The final clarification that I wanted to cover with you is clarification number 9. And this is on page 10 of the staff report. This is some new language that staff proposed. And this language was added to ensure that architectural design guidelines would be included for each of the city center districts prior to any development applications being approved. This language will clarify that all development in the city center is subject to design review, and the architectural design guidelines will be required so that we'll have architectural harmony in the city center. Staff conducted a citizen review meeting on this case February 24th. There were 6 residents attended the meeting, but there was no opposition at the meeting. And in conclusion, I wanted to mention the work that staff has been working with SunMP. We've been working with SunMP on several details related to the city center specific area plan amendment. And SunMP has reported that they do still have some concerns related to some provisions in the city center specific area plan, but they are outside of the scope of this application that we have before us this evening. And staff will continue to work with SunMP through this process. But SunMP has assisted staff in helping us to process this amendment and to ensure that all 4 of the districts were revised appropriately. And this concludes the presentation by staff. And staff is available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity now for the public and the applicant to comment. Public hearing. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the resolution 09-1299 by title only, please.
Adopt Resolution 09-1299, approving a minor amendment to the City Center Specific Area Plan for the purpose of clarifying the intent of certain sections in Chapter 4A, Land Use, Chapter 4E, Site Planning, and Chapter 5, Architectural Theme, and providing for an effective date.
Could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved. Second.
Motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Vice Mayor Antoniak. It's open for discussion. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
I have a
Councilmember
I
Cavalier?
I just have one comment I'd like to make, and that is, in looking at this and doing what planning and zoning has done to make all of these things right, I think we need to encourage the developers that own all the land around City Center, do everything we can to encourage them to start doing some developing, and whatever that takes, we need the companies like Sun MP and other people that own land in the vicinity to move forward and try to get something really going. And whatever the city has to do to encourage that, to help them along. I know these are tough times, but whatever it is, we need to encourage it as much as possible. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, next is a public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution to approve a minor amendment to the Goodyear General Plan 2003 to 2013 to amend the plan use on approximately 100 acres of property owned by the city of Goodyear. Open the public hearing. Brett?
Thank you, Mayor Kavanaugh. Members of the council, the University Park Minor General Plan Amendment includes 100 acres of city-owned property. It's located at the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Goodyear Boulevard. And as you can see here, some of the land uses surrounding the subject property include to the north, we have the Wildflower Ranch residential subdivision. There is also a portion of agricultural land. I'm going to point to that right here. Agricultural land with a future general plan land use designation of medium and medium-high density residential. To the south is the 40-acre city center northwest district. You also have Desert Edge High School located directly to the south. And to the east, you can see Estrella Parkway and the Centera PAD. So there are the apartments. There's a church across the street from Estrella Parkway as well. And to the west, we have Wildflower Ranch, single-family residential subdivision. Moving on to the general plan, the existing general plan exhibit. In 2004, and many of you will recall, the city purchased 100 acres from Miss Lula Mae Hudson. And the city originally purchased 100 acres in 2004, and the city officials envisioned that this site would be used to provide an area for a community park for the city of Goodyear, and city officials also envisioned that the site would complement the city center site. And in 2007, Mayor and Council began the process to attract interested universities to a portion of this city-owned site. And in 2008, the University of Incarnate Word and Franklin Pierce University both completed leases with the city for 30 acres of land each on which to build university campuses. When the general plan update occurred in 2003, the site was designated solely for park uses, and you can see here we revised the general plan to be green accordingly. So in order to accommodate university campuses and also a passive park on the site, the City of Goodyear has initiated a minor general plan amendment to revise the land use designation from parks to public, quasi-public. And a forthcoming zoning application, which will be called the University Park Final PAD, will come before you probably in June, and it will provide a conceptual arrangement of the university campuses and the area for the community park. Staff conducted a citizen review meeting on March 3rd. There were about 6 people at the meeting, and although there was no opposition at the meeting, the residents raised a few concerns, and those are outlined in your staff report. A few of the residents were concerned about tall buildings obstructing the views of the Estrella Mountains. Many of the residents were concerned about traffic circulation through the adjacent residential subdivision, and also they noted some concerns about pedestrian connections that they wished would have occurred through the subdivision to the west. And staff will make sure that those concerns are reflected in the final PAD that you see in June. And this concludes the presentation by staff. Staff is available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Opportunity now for comments from the public. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read Resolution 09-1300 by title only.
Adopt Resolution 09-1300, approving a minor amendment to the Goodyear General Plan 2003-2013 to amend the planned land use on approximately 100 acres of property owned by the City of Goodyear, generally located at the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Yuma Road, from parks to public, quasi-public, as shown on the attached proposed land use exhibit, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Move the adoption of resolution number 09-1300 is read by the city clerk.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Councilmember Lord. Discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to consider adoption of a resolution for an IGA with the City of Maricopa for fire protection in Mobile, and Chief Gaylord will present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There'll be a PowerPoint presentation shortly. The IGA for your consideration this evening with the City of Maricopa. Quickly going through the history leading up to your consideration of that this evening. As you know, when we annexed the area that includes the community of Mobile and the adjacent area to surrounding Mobile, we did so under the expectation that there would be a developer contribution that would pay for services. As we moved through, initially provided service of 2 firefighters per day. That increased to 4 firefighters per day, and shortly thereafter, we stopped receiving funds from the developer and found ourselves with the necessity of reducing staffing in December of 2008 to 2 firefighters a day again. Began having conversations with the City of Maricopa because it would appear that we have very similar situations. Both those areas, our area of Goodyear, that is adjacent to Maricopa at the county line, additionally is a very remote area, very sparsely populated. And so it made sense that we might be able to strike up some way to improve the quality of service to both of our citizens at a reduced cost. And so we began to enter into those conversations. The actual agreement itself, the intent of the agreement is to provide for better services for our citizens and theirs through this collaborative effort. Essentially what we do is we create a Zone A and B in the city of Goodyear, and we through contractual arrangement allow Maricopa to provide services to the area that's Zone B that's delineated on the map that you see here. This is not unlike a similar arrangement that we did in the city of Goodyear in the late 80s when we annexed an area that soon became Estrella Mountain Ranch. And there were remote areas that were very difficult for us to be able to provide services to. The model that was in place then became a bit of an example we were able to replicate in this agreement. Essentially, Maricopa has a fire station, their Fire Station 573, and currently, by way of just a little bit of background, since the annexation, Maricopa has joined the City of Goodyear in the Automatic Aid Consortium and been a tremendous asset to the system. In addition to that, just made things much more seamless with respect to the service that we can provide to our citizens and theirs because of the automatic aid relationship we have with them. They will, if you take a look at the next map, and it's very difficult to see, I apologize, but they have a desire to relocate an existing fully staffed paramedic fire company to an area that you see in Maricopa is on the other side of the Ak-Chin Reservation, that kind of dip in their boundaries as their community kind of goes around to the north of the Ak-Chin Reservation. So they have a remote area they'd like to relocate resources to serve a newly annexed area that coincidentally is just adjacent to the City of Goodyear at the Pinal-Maricopa County line. So, and you see by the annotations that essentially they're going to be relocating to an area approximately 5 miles away from the county line.
What kind of facilities do they currently have in Maricopa that are going to be transferred?
The facility in question is a temporary facility, not unlike what we have in Mobile now. It's primarily what we call a fire barn and an adjacent modular structure. It's very similar to what we have in Mobile currently.
Thank you.
The actual fiscal impact of the IGA contemplates a maximum of up to $50,000 that we would contribute towards the relocation of their facility to the ultimate location. That particular site is still being pursued by the City of Maricopa. They have an approximate area where it's going to be. As it is remote, finding sites with adequate utilities to put a facility becomes part of the problem. So they're still pursuing that. We know approximately where it's at, and that's where you've seen that denoted on the map. In addition to that, we have provided for an annual expense of just under $73,000 with an idea that we would limit the exposure of Maricopa to about 365 calls, give you a sense of what that looked like. Last year we had about 98 and from Station 187 in 2008, of which only about 46 or 48 of them were in the City of Goodyear. The idea was to give them a sense of it wouldn't run away from them. If a call volume starts to increase in that area of our community, it'll probably be because we've allowed some change through development to occur. It shouldn't sneak up on us and surprise us. So it felt it was somewhat harmless to provide that level of assurance to them. I don't have any other prepared remarks. I'm here to answer any questions you have regarding this IGA.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the public? Okay, could I ask the clerk to read the resolution 091294 by title only, please?
Adopt Resolution 09-1294, authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Maricopa, Arizona for fire protection assistance.
Could I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Adoption of the IGA.
second.
Motion from Councilmember Susan, a second from Vice Mayor Antoniak. It's open for discussion. Just a sort of unrelated question. It's still a haul to get down to that Kamatki Road. Is that how you say that? Is that your area?
Yes, it is. And Kamatki represented just primarily a sensible landmark by which we could make the delineation. It's in a rural, kind of a wild land environment, and it would be difficult for us and them to get to that alignment. It would be that type of an incident that would occur. The primary risk down there is the residential occupancies that are close to 83rd Avenue and the folks that live in Maricopa area of Goodyear, and then any of the travelers on the highway that travels through the area. It'd be a remote risk if we have an incident out along Komatki, but we needed to put a delineating place to create the zone.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say one thing. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for looking for solutions to resolve the situation that we got stuck with. Appreciate it.
Ditto.
I think we all feel that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Real challenge.
We also want to thank the city of Maricopa.
Yes.
Yes.
They've been very good to work for, their staff, and then we've got a lot of people on our staff that worked hard to make this go. So,
Okay, can I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. We'll now consider approving a real estate contract for Park and Ride facility. Linda Bills.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Linda Beals. I am the real estate coordinator for the City of Goodyear. Presentation tonight pertains to the Park and Ride location that's now on the Elmo. This site is located at Interstate 10 and Dysart Road, just to the northwest. This site, the city has been actively negotiating with the Flood Control District of Maricopa County for a 12.39 acre site. That's the site that's outlined on there, that it consists of 12.39 acres. The Park and Ride facility is planned to build out to, based on its preliminary layouts, to 860 covered parking spaces. The initial project design, also known as Phase 1, will be presented by Sean Bradford in the following council action this evening. There's also a proposed Phase 2, which at this time is unprogrammed, but would also accommodate the additional 460 covered parking spaces. The Phase 1 is for 400. The proposed site is located within an existing drainage basin. This basin is one of a series of basins that run from Dysart Road all the way to Saraville. This particular basin that we're locating within, or proposing to locate within, is an approximate 41-acre basin. And as noted before, we are looking at acquiring approximately 12.39 of those acres from the Maricopa County Flood Control District. That acquisition will leave a remaining approximate 28.78 acres within the basin. That will provide, well, first I want to make note that that basin, we will, in order to utilize it for a park and ride facility, we will need to do a backfill into the basin, eliminating that portion from the use as a drainage basin. However, it should be noted that the remaining area, the 28 acres, will still have enough capacity to meet the storm flow needs of the Interstate 10, the cities of Goodyear, Avondale, Litchfield Park, and Suncor. They all have rights to the utilization of the basin based on an intergovernmental agreement that was put into place in the year 2002. Again, I think I made mention, but I want to make absolutely certain that the study, we did have a study done that will absolutely, that states that there is more than enough capacity to do that. The city is working toward an estimated closing on this property in June of 2000 of this year. The land acquisition is a critical factor to the city in order to obtain the funding that has been allocated to the city of Goodyear for the building of the park and ride from both the Maricopa Association of Governments as well as the stimulus funds from the ARRA and the RPTA. One thing that needs to be noted, the funding from these two items is not due to the city till probably late summer to early fall. In the meantime, we will be utilizing city funds to go ahead and complete the acquisition. However, again, it is critical in order to get these funds, we have to have this real estate in place. The council will basically, in any way, the flood control district went out and they contracted an independent appraisal of the property. That appraisal came in at $1,597,000. That value does take into consideration the fact that we will have to go in and backfill, compact. It considers the engineering costs of those items as well as a small profit factor. So that was a reduction from the value of the site, which was in excess of $4 million. Because they did understand that because it's a basin, in order for it to come up to its highest and best use, which was dictated to be a commercial use, not our use, but what it could be utilized for if it were developed in the private sector, that we would have to go ahead and complete that upgrade of the property. So they gave us a significant reduction in the price for that. They also gave us a $30,000 discount because they are asking to retain a 20-foot piece along the south portion to allow drainage to continue to move through the property. The council is being asked specifically tonight to authorize the city attorney and the city manager to negotiate and enter into a real estate purchase contract with the Flood Control District of Maricopa County, substantially in the same form as attached hereto, for the purpose of an approximate 12.39 acres parcel of property for a park and ride site located near the northwest corner of Interstate 10 and Dysart Road for a total of $1,567,000, and to authorize the city manager to execute all documents, including the final real estate purchase contract and conveyance documents necessary. That would conclude my presentation this evening. If there are any questions, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the real estate contract?
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Lord and a second from Vice Mayor Antoniak. It's open for discussion. Councilmember Souza?
My question, what makes this property so expensive?
It does have, if the flood control district were to look toward selling this property as a non-flood control, not as if it was not a basin, the highest and best use based on when an appraiser came in and looked at it was for commercial use. The property, it does sit next to commercial development. Actually, it's surrounded by quasi or commercial developments. We have Lowe's development to the north. We have a hotel and a Mimi's just to the east. We have the hospital over toward the west. So, and we also have freeway frontage visibility, although we can't actually access it from the freeway. When the appraiser looked at it, he felt that it did have commercial potential. So that would be the primary reason of the level of value. However, I can tell you that based on the current market conditions and the fact that this property is located a little bit more internal, it doesn't have direct access to Dysart and or the freeway interchange, it was reduced substantially. The properties that have those type of locations were valued closer to $20 a square foot, and they had sales that had come in at right around $20 a square foot, where the initial value of this property was between $7 and $8 a square foot, reduced down to $3 a square foot because of a little under $3 a square foot because we have to backfill it.
What do you call substantially? $30,000?
No, the substantial reduction was I think it was, I'd have to pull the exact numbers, but it was the reduction from the $7.80 a square foot down to slightly under $3 a square foot for the backfill.
So it was from
What's the name of the appraiser?
I'm sorry. Oh, Steve Nagy.
Yeah, tell him to come over to my home and appraise my property.
But there is a business opening for this. Maybe the city of Goodyear should open a coffee bar right there on the parking lot. No joke.
I have one question.
That's a lot of money for a ditch.
I know a great deal of work has gone into this project. Thank you very much. I did have a question. What is going to be the budgeted O&M on us in the next years?
Sean, can you answer that? Or Cato?
It may not be much, but I'm just.
It'd be too much.
And is it budgeted?
Mayor, Councilmember Osborne, our initial estimates on Phase 1, which is about 400 spots, is $150,000 a year.
Okay. And that's probably typical?
Yes, and that'll be incorporated into next year's operating budget due to the construction.
Okay.
Say that again. State it's $150,000 a year for 400 spots?
400 spots.
For operation and maintenance?
Yes.
Does that include the cost of the bus route back and forth?
No, this is just to operate, just city's cost to operate the facility itself.
400 parking spaces. Wow. That seems hard. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sean, I think you or Cato would need to answer this. I don't see where this is eligible for stimulus funds because it's not going to be shovel-ready. Is that correct?
No, it will be, and I'm going to present in a few minutes here on the accelerated design and where we're moving forward on so that we can get that $1 million in stimulus money that was indicated on one of the slides that Linda just showed you.
Okay. Okay, seeing no further discussion, I do have a motion, do I not? Yeah, okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey.
The ayes have it, 6-1. We'll now move to authorizing the city attorney and city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group for design services for the park and ride. Sean?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My presentation will be very brief. I want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you may have, and I will touch upon, Mayor, your previous question regarding stimulus funding. Just as a way of a little bit of background, here's an aerial map of the general vicinity. The park and ride, the proposed facility is down in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the 12.3 acres of land that Linda just spoke of. I did want to point out that it's in the general vicinity of our existing temporary park and ride that's just to the west of that facility. Some of the project milestones to date, the city has completed pre-design and some of the environmental impacts and assessments that we needed to go through. We just spoke a few minutes ago. Linda just presented the land acquisition, and we've been given direction from City Council on that. My presentation tonight is focused on Phase 1 design, which is that first phase, 400 parking spots, and then we'll go right into immediate construction. There are some timelines and a bit of a crunch as it relates to the stimulus funding, and we want to proceed as quickly as possible. That's why we've come to you, as we did tonight, with the land, continuing to finalize that land purchase agreement, and then move forward immediately on design so that we can secure that $1 million, approximate $1 million in stimulus money. As far as the design scope, Jacobs Engineering was selected to a qualification-based process to design this Phase 1. And originally, the park and ride was broken into 3 phases. Phase 1 now will incorporate what was originally contemplated as Phase 1 and 2. That'll be about 400 spots, as we previously mentioned. Their design contract that we're asking for approval tonight is approximately $618,000. Of that is $480,000 to do the Phase 1 design, which includes 30% plans on the entire facility build-out. So we're going to move forward and get some of the basic design elements necessary for the entire facility done, and then Jacobs will bring the Phase 1 400 spaces to 100% design, where at that point the city will go out and competitively bid this process. In the past, a lot of these projects would go through with an alternative delivery method like a contract manager at risk or something like that. The construction climate is in the city's favor, and we want to go out and hard bid this. There's an option in Jacobs' contract to provide some post-design services related to the construction at $138,000. That'll be task order driven and only authorized if needed. At this point, we're not sure if we're going to need it or not. We wanted to get it into the contract. Hopeful that we can do some of the construction oversight using internal staff, but we wanted to have that as an option if necessary. The design scope, as I mentioned, and this is one of the drivers, back to the mayor's question, and I've got a slide after this on the different funding sources. We need to get phase one design completed in approximately 120 days, and then commence with construction shortly thereafter. The federal stimulus money has a requirement for obligation, and I believe that timeline on obligation is late August, early September, which means the city needs to be ready to move late July, early August. And we've been working very closely with the city manager and with the InterGov to make sure that we meet those timelines. Once obligated, we'll move right into construction, and it's anticipated at this point the city will be ready to open sometime. I've placed there early summer. We're hopeful we can get it done maybe sooner than that, but we're going to be cautiously optimistic and say early summer 2010, and that's when the city would start to be obligated for some additional operating expenses as it related to the facility. There are several funding sources that the city had available to use this. There's some general fund match, and then there's money that was appropriated in the MAG TIP funds, and then we recently were awarded this $1 million, $1,083,000 for the stimulus money. The stimulus money is the money that has that short timeline that requires us to get obligated as quickly as possible. So we're moving forward as fast as we can. There's an approximate 20% match from the city as it relates to the funding of this facility. So a $6.8 million worth of worth of funds that we have available are going to require that city match of about $1.288 million. The conceptual layout, and I've got a picture here in a second that's a little bit clearer, but this is that 12-acre parcel. We've laid it out just to the east of that parcel. To your right is Mimi's Cafe and the hotel, and then there's that bank. The phase one and phase two are delineated by that light kind of teal line that kind of shows it goes south of the loop and then comes around. There's a better picture here. That's what phase one would look like. And the design elements will include covered parking. Once we get out into the bid and the construction climate, we'll know how much, or if, the goal is to get it all under cover in phase one, but if necessary, in order to get 400 spots, we would back that off if needed. But the plan right now is we believe we'll have enough money to go ahead and get that done with the loop and then the first 400 spots under cover.
So phase one will not include the entrance ramp?
No,
dedicated guideway?
Not at this point. You can see that on the previous slide. You can see that there's just to the south, that little bit of on-ramp off of Dysart. You can see the on-ramp going westbound, and we were planning a loop into it. And then the design elements also include a facility for restrooms, and then at some point we would look to put on-site security if needed. There'll be remote security initially, cameras and the such, but there'll also be land set aside in a building designed to house on-site security if necessary.
When it gets up to 800 or so parking places rather than at the first level design, you wouldn't really need a security until you get to 800?
We're not certain. We've got it incorporated in the Jacobs design contract to bring the building design in phase one. We're going to continue to look at this from an operational standpoint, and we're concerned with our operating dollars. Obviously, the city's faced with a crunch here, and if we can get away with it, potentially remotely operating this and monitoring things remotely using cameras, we'd look to do that. But when we get into the meat of the design, that'll kind of fed out whether we do that or not.
Okay.
I have a question. I drive so far to work, so I don't really have the opportunity to use something like this, and so I've never seen how they operate. But is there a fee that somebody pays to have this park and ride? I mean, besides the bus fee, but so we're doing this all just to be good environmental stewards. Is that why we're?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, hold on a second.
So we could have our coffee bar to make
Well,
some
I'm
money?
saying I still think we got to run one.
There's no fee, but this, I mean, you go back to those funding sources, and there are some Prop 400 funds in there, right? So there is a tax-based revenue for the capital of this project.
Okay.
It's
okay.
not,
That's
I mean,
what
it's not solely free to the taxpayer,
That's why I'm asking. 'cause I didn't-
but traditionally, there's not many
It's
transit.
primarily tip funding and then some stimulus money from
This is Proposition 400 money.
Obama.
Not all of it, but some of the money that he identified in the, right? Isn't there some Prop 400 money in this?
This isn't Prop 400.
This is not.
It is too. It's also RPTA.
Yes.
It's our PTA, but
Which is Prop 400 money.
Well, that's not an issue really now, anyway.
Okay, it's not an issue.
Certainly, your costs are an issue, though. What, land acquisition, we just heard it was 1.5.
Yes, and I missed that. Thank you, Mayor. These were the original estimates, and as the money was appropriated through the TIP, these were the numbers that were put into the system. When we get into construction, or when we finish our final design, we'll complete the land acquisition, submit for reimbursement once the funding has been in place and the grant's been written, and then the available monies, the leftover monies that are there in that line item for land acquisition can be applied for either construction or final design of the project. So all of the money is available to the city to be used. It's just a matter of how it was originally appropriated, and then once fully realized, once the land acquisition costs have been fully covered, that approximate $1.1 million would be available to be reallocated for another piece of that pie as it relates to construction and/or design.
So the federal government is reimbursing us for land in an amount greater than the amount of money we spent for the land.
No, the MAG tip monies, it makes up that $2.7 million. The federal cost of about $2.155 came through the tip, and that was the original estimates of what the land was going to cost when we first started looking at this. That money is available to the city and can be reappropriated afterwards. They won't give us $2.6 million for the land. They'll give us just what the land costs were, but the available funding that's left over after that can be reappropriated back into the project to expand construction, and that's what's being contemplated today.
Back to Frank's, where's the RPTA money in this?
there isn't any.
I thought we got $1 million.
Not from RPTA. We got from the stimulus. The 1.83 million is the stimulus money, but it did not come from RPTA. It might come from RPTA, but it did not come from Proposition 400.
Well, let's not worry about that. RPTA was supposed to fund us. We wanted $10 million, as I recall. Wasn't that correct?
That's right.
And we got $1.
Right.
Yes.
Where is that?
That's
So-
the $1 million, the ARRA stimulus
Right
money,
here.
1.083602. That's the $1 million that was identified, and I don't want to use the word earmark, but was tied to
it's stimulus.
the city's, it's stimulus, yes.
It's like the STAN funding.
And Cato could probably speak a little more eloquently than I could as it relates to the stimulus money, but this is the money that was tied to the city's park and ride, and it was designed, and it's contemplated that's going to expand the scope, that's going to allow us to build out to that 400 spots initially. That's the $1 million.
It would have otherwise been cut.
Yes, and that carries with it no local funding match.
But you've got to be shovel-ready. What is it, 6 months or a year?
The $1 million that's listed here is 180 days. And it needs to be appropriated. And again, I don't want to misspeak here as it relates to the world of InterGov. This is all new to me. It needs to be appropriated and ready to be spent.
Right.
You have to have contracts ready, contracts awarded. Construction, you don't have to be physically moving dirt to have the money available. Katie, do you want to?
Yeah, I think you can add something to it.
Mayor and council members, there's a urbanized area, transit urbanized area in Avondale is the urbanized area for Goodyear, Avondale. And then there's another urbanized area for Phoenix Mesa. And that's where the RPTA, the federal stimulus portion, was separated into the two urbanized area. And the 1.038 was the RPTA suburbanized area for Avondale Goodyear. That's the RPTA money. For us to be awarded or appropriated that money, we have to have this project obligated by September. And obligated is in a position to award, advertise, and bid the project. nothing more. And then shovel-ready is just a terminology they use, but we just need to be obligated by September 2nd.
Now, Cato, tell them what the share of the other share of the RPTA, the stimulus money was.
Well, there's another, on the transportation side, on the street side, we had, through MAG, we appropriated a little bit over $1 million and flexed it over into the transit side. And that's within the COAC and everything else, but that'll be part of the project at a later date, either to add to the part of the construction and/or minimize the city's city match as relates to the MAG portion.
That's not showing up in this.
No.
We'll see
No,
that
no, it's
figure
not.
later.
There's also, what, another $68 million that went to the east side on the stimulus money.
Correct. Correct, on the transit side?
On the transit side.
Correct. For the Phoenix and Mesa urbanized area.
Right.
That's not us. No.
I realize that there is a necessity for the park and ride to really be available to the citizens of Goodyear that cut their time between here and Phoenix for those that have jobs there. But frankly, I'm going to be the lone vote on this again because I feel that the price that we're considering being to be paid for this property is exorbitant, to say the least, for really what basically I see as an existing ditch and perhaps surrounding property owned by the flood control district. I just can't see. I think we could have done a better job in negotiating with the flood district. To me, over $1 million for this property is ridiculous. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if I may address that just for a moment, please.
Yes.
This was a very good job of negotiating with the flood district because they are obligated by statute to sell property for the highest and best use. We were able to get them down from the $4 million to 1.5 through the various means that have been addressed. So I believe that the city has done an excellent job in negotiating the purchase and the acquisition of this property.
Absolutely.
John, I very seldom disagree with you, but I've got to disagree with you on this issue.
Okay. Let's hang around for a second. I believe, Cato, that, and I got this, I thought from you or Romina, that this is going to be about a $10 million project. Is that correct?
At full build-out, it'll be approximately $10 million.
Okay. Do we have a plan to acquire the additional funds that are going to be necessary to do that? Are we budgeting for that? And is it reasonable in this environment to get that?
We at the present time are working with the RPTA to reappropriate in a new upcoming amendment of their TIP, the Transit Life Cycle Plan, to add second phase. And that amendment should be going through either the next couple of months or the following amendment. But we'll have our second phase within that with the additional monies and or the remaining parking spaces that we had outlined in the presentation.
I know this has been very hard to do. From the very beginning, this has been hard to do. Further comments?
Yeah, I have one other. I just want to add that, isn't it one more, is it July, Cato, that we will be receiving our fourth express bus? There'll be an additional express bus added to our 3. Is that coming in July?
Initially, it was coming on in July, and the reason why it was coming on in July is the town of Buckeye has their park and ride coming online, and that it was tentatively scheduled for July. They have pushed it out, I think, 90 days. So once that's online, then they'll add the second bus. They'll have 2 buses originating in Buckeye, and then coming and stopping in Goodyear, then moving forward into Phoenix, and then at the same time we'll have 2 buses stopping in at our Goodyear park and ride, and then continuing on to Phoenix. So
we'll have 4 total.
4 total.
I have one other question. Just following up on the mayor's question of the $10 million, if for whatever reason, the next year or two, we did not receive that money for the second phase, what would our plan be? Because we certainly are not prepared for another $4 million to take out of our back pocket in the next couple of years. What would-
At this point, as it relates to a level of service or a demand for service, the temporary park and ride facility is 200 spots, and we typically see on average about 100 cars per day using that facility, and that's assuming that the 2 buses that we have now. When we go to a 4-bus route and accounting for some growth and some other people that may, carpool together, we feel that 400 spots will take us quite a ways. 860 spots is the city's full build-out needs for a park and ride facility, so 400 spots gets us quite a ways out there.
So it's beyond just a couple years, then,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
Especially with the growth slowing as it has, 400 spots will carry the city quite a ways.
Till you add more consistent operating buses. I mean, 4 buses a day is great, but if the 79th Avenue and McDowell Park and Ride in Phoenix has in excess of 800 spots, I think. I think they're close to 12.
And we're
they're
hopeful that we
full.
can,
They're full every day.
and we're hopeful that we can foster some opportunities for carpooling as well, and they can park there and carpool together. You'll have some covered parking.
Okay, further questions, comments?
Nope. Just what it is.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Measure passes 6-1.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I don't believe we had a motion.
Oh.
Oh, we did?
No.
I thought,
Yeah, I thought we had a.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
did you did I not?
Yeah,
Did you get one?
No, I think you did.
No,
That was
you know
the
what?
last
It was the
one.
last
It was
one.
the last
Yeah.
one. You're right. We
Yeah,
did
we-
not
we
need a
don't have
motion
one.
on. Mr. Mayor, would you entertain a motion?
Yes.
I move that council approve design services with Jacobs Engineering Group Incorporated in the amount of $618,445 for final design of Phase 1 of the Goodyear Park and Ride facility.
Second.
No, good.
Motion from Vice Mayor Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Cavalier. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
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 Get to say it
Say
again.
again.
6-1.
Thank you.
Tell us how you really feel.
Right?
Okay. We'll now consider approving the submission of an application for the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act 2009 COPS Hiring Recovery Program. Mark Braun and Matt Hansen.
Let me see what I've got in here.
That's going to be back here. I'll go ahead and handle this. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, here tonight to ask you to approve a submission of an application for specifically the COPS Hiring and Recovery Program. The COPS program was signed into law February 17th of 2009 by President Obama. Now, there is a COPS office, and we have been successful in the past. In the late 1990s, we were able to hire 11 officers from that program. But the new COPS program of 2009 is substantially improved. And, for example, in the 1990s, we were receiving 75% of an officer's salary, the next year 50%, the next year 25%, and then we would absorb the cost for those officers, and the city would have to provide matching funds for those. The 2009 grants allow for 100% of the salary and benefits paid for a period of 36 months. But it is not without risk. At the end of that funding cycle, we have to commit to funding those officers for a minimum of 12 months. So we're hoping that the economy can turn around and we can get back on the road to growing. But clearly that is an important thing to understand before we submit this grant, is that we're going to have to do that. Looking at the kind of the breakdown of where we're going with these officers in our strategic plan and looking at other planning efforts, specifically some of the successes we've seen with our street crimes unit, we would like to hire 7 of these officers to put towards expanding that program. So instead of having 40 hours a week of street crimes unit, we can now have 80 hours. We're looking for a total of 10 officers. 7 of them would be for street crimes. We would like 1 additional motor officer. We would like 1 officer to assign to the court to help with prisoner transportation, court security. the service of civil process, orders of protection, and those things. We're finding that that is becoming very burdensome on our patrol officers. So to take that away and have someone full-time doing that would be a great benefit. Additionally, these grants also allow you to fund frozen positions. We currently have one frozen police officer position, so that would be our 10th officer in this request, is to fund that frozen position and put that officer into patrol on one of our patrol squads. And looking at what we would be getting annually, the first year would be about $750,000. We have included a 5% increase in those costs for the period of the 3 years. We're looking for a total of approximately $2,328,060 over the 3-year period in this stimulus money. The associated equipment, vehicles, and those things, because they're new positions, we can use our development impact fees for those costs. And additionally, for our fiscal year 09-10, we have already looked at the cost for training, should we be able to hire these officers, office equipment, licensing fees for any computer software that is associated with them. So we've already looked at adding that into our budget, and if we are successful, proceeding with that. It is our recommendation that we pursue these grants and get to hire those people so that we don't lose a foothold of some of the successes that we've gained thus far. With that, that concludes my presentation. Any questions? Myself and Matt are available.
Okay, comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion, please, to approve the submission?
Second that.
Motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Vice Mayor Antoniak. Open for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's no question in my mind that an additional workforce in the police department that this would provide is essential. The force itself is strained. There's no question about it in this day and age. I've always said to the chief that I just hate like heck to see the day come to where we have an injury with one of our police officers or even a fatality when we can't provide backup to an individual when he's on scene. It's important that this type of program would provide that type of protection. And that's the reason I'm going to be voting for it. Yeah, there's a risk, but that risk comes into the 4th year, where we're going to have to assume the total cost of the salaries and the benefits that come with our employees, and of course with police pension as well. So that's the reason I'm going to vote for this, and I encourage the council to follow suit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further comments? Sorry.
No, I just want to comment. I'm sure all our neighborhood organizations and homeowners associations are glad to see that we're getting another street crime unit that'll be on board and help to all of us.
Thank you.
And thanks, Matt.
Yes, Matt's
You
done a
really
great
do well
job
at
in
those
getting us
grants.
We're expecting this. We're not saying any negative things here.
That's just disappointed he doesn't get commission on each one of these grants coming into the city.
Comments over here?
No, good.
Okay.
One more comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Recent events that we've been informed by the city manager about what transpires with the squad that we're talking about. They just, I think, arrested 3 people that were involved in a stop.
They're a very active unit, Councilmember Sousa, and
To the tune of picking up something like $15,000 in tainted money.
correct.
It was probably indicated that the money was procured through dope transactions. So
Correct.
This is the type of individual that you probably will be hiring for this particular position. So I'd like to add that.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now consider a notice of intent to set a public hearing on May 18th for the adoption of an ordinance amending water and sewer rates and fees in Shannon Bradford.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This is going to be a very, very brief briefing. This is just a notice of intent. This is, staff is here to seek council's approval to set a public hearing for May 18th, 2009, to discuss potential raising of water and sewer rates, have a public meeting. Based off of some input that staff received from the city council back in December, we have scheduled 2 informational meetings through the PIO's office. Those will be held on May 5th and May 7th. They'll be announced to the general public through the InFocus and then a press release. And that'll just be an opportunity for the general public to come in and to take a look at what the rates are going to look like, the reasons behind the rate increases, the proposed rate increases and the such. And then if approved, staff is preparing a plan with the PIO to put out informational updates in the InFocus in the fall of 2009 in advance of the proposed rate increases for January 2010. And that was the direction of the council. You asked us to pick up the pace of our outreach, and we think we've done that with these 2 informational meetings. That was the one slide. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Comments from the public, please? Seeing none, could I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve a notice of intent to hold a public hearing on May 18th, 2009 for the adoption of an ordinance to amend water and sewer rates and fees.
Second.
Motion from Vice Mayor Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Holland. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously.
Thank you.
We'll now move to information items, comments on current events and presentations by council members. Councilmember Holland.
Well, I think the last couple of weeks we've been kind of busy. We had a conference with Brownfields on March the 25th, and that turned out to be very informative, brought some material back and spread it around the Economic Development Group. The second thing was we also had a good turnout for our Superfund site tour this past week. And I really appreciated the fact that the mayor was able to take time out to do this, along with Betsy and some of our other folks that made themselves available for this. It was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, a number of us, well, I don't know if you're going to report on this, but a number of us went to the GPEC.
No, go ahead.
Engaging the community, or I forget how they titled it, but the governor and convening the community. That's right. But the governor, the speaker, the president of the Senate, some educators, and I think that about covers it. Right? All gave a 360-degree perspective on the current state of the budget at the state level. And it was actually probably one of the most comprehensive descriptions I've seen of the state budgeting process and where our funds come from. For those of you that want to be educated on that, I'm sure you can just check out gpec.org, and they've got the presentations on there, and the governor's office has their presentations on there. And I will tell you, like our new governor or not, I tend to like her, but she's taken I saw a very pragmatic approach to an issue that is definitely impacting all of us, and I appreciated that. And I do think that there was one educator in the room that spoke very eloquently at the end about the legislators getting their job done, and I tend to agree with her. She made a pretty stiff remark towards the legislators that were present at the function. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, gpec.org. And it is very, very educational, and no doubt it's going to be a long haul, 3 or 4 years for the state to pull out of this. That's it.
Okay, I've got 2 items. One will take me a minute or 2, but first off, I want to thank Councilmember Holland for standing in for me with that brownfield. So thank you very much. I had to be in Washington, and you did a great job. Thank you. This weekend, my wife and I were invited, as was Nathan Torres, to attend the Easter service at the Skyway Church, and they had it at the ball field. They didn't have it at their regular assembly point on Van Buren. They had it at the ball field, and I think there were about 2,000 people there. I'm guessing, but it was It was very interesting. But Nathan was invited because, and he received a plaque. He was brought up onto the stage in front of the older people and given a plaque for what he's done for the ball field, in particular for providing this service for this church. My wife and I were called up there, and I wasn't sure why until he got to this point. And his father, it's Pastor Greg Brown. I'll tell you where I come from. Pastor Greg Brown, and his wife is Pastor Don Brown, and exceptionally great people. So they gave me this, and I'm going to take a minute to try to explain it. But this is what they call a leaf, and it's a scripture reading from Deuteronomy. And I'm going to tell you why he did it. I can't read it, believe me. This is 1611 English. Wow, I thought it was 2010 English. But this leaf is guaranteed to be a genuine original. It is from the first edition of the 1611 King James Pulpit Bible. Wow. This leaf from the earliest printings of the world's most beloved book is an unspeakably rare treasure of Christian history. So it's obviously an honor to receive that. And the reason we received it was because of a quote in Deuteronomy. And you want to see that? Sure, we'll pass that. And it's difficult to read. Again, that's 1600 English. So I had Mary Feitmaster and give me a couple of translations. So although Pastor Greg did a brilliant job explaining it when he spoke. But there's a couple translations. One is the King James Version of today, and it says, "And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth." And then from the New Living Translation, "Remember the Lord your God, he is the one who gives you power to be successful." And their point is that this city is successful, and this city is properly seeking wealth. And according to the Skyway Church, we're doing it in accordance with the Bible. And it's a very interesting thought, and it was expressed much more brilliantly than I just did. But it was just, I was just thrilled to be able to stand up there and receive it. During the sermons and a couple, what do you call it when people speak? Testimonials. A couple comments were made about us. And one is that the Fan Fest, as I've said, was a very uplifting experience. It was Easter. The emphasis was on hope, and the Fan Fest provided hope. And then also, Greg mentioned during his sermon that this park, bringing this to the people of Goodyear, also provided us hope. So it was an extremely important event for me in my life, and I just want to share with everybody that we're thought of highly, and we're probably doing the right thing. So anyway.
Thank you.
It was very good.
It's nice.
I would like to add that, you know what, I was there also, and I was very happy to see that the first activity after all those games was having Easter Sunday there, and so that was very nice. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. Manager, summary of events?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and follow-up action, anything there?
No.
Council inquiries to staff. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Well, the consent was